Aya is recording and we can go ahead and begin. So we are the RSO lead team. My name is Lachita Day and I'm Sandra Flores. Okay. It's not.
Well, before we get started, the RSO lead team does a couple different things. We're like the one-stop shop for RSOs, whether you want to talk about events or our big events that the RSO lead team hosts, like bench painting and the Bed Connected Fair. Those are some of our big big sellers, big events throughout the year. If you need support through emails, whether it's creating an event, finding a room, you can talk to us about it. And we also are available through in-person meetings or online appointments.
Yep, so we host events such as the Get Connected Fair and bench painting, like she just said, and we like to organize registration and re-registration for the RSO. So if you want to become an org or want to change up your org's new members and stuff, we always have a couple dates around the semester for that. Additionally, we write up contracts for guest lectures and paid vendors. If an RSO needs to have a paid DJ, let's say, or a guest lecturer, like a professor or something, they must have a contract just for insurance and just for safety measures. So they would come to us and we'll draft up a contract for them, and then they would have both parties sign. And yeah, that's mostly it. We answer emails that the RSOs send in, and they can walk in at any time as well, or they can through our Calendly, they can register for like an event or a meeting if they want to have it like next week sometime, where our doors open all the time, so anyone can just walk in really. And we will turn it over to you now. Stop sharing. Start sharing. And then you can press whenever you want to go on.
Excellent. Well, Sandra and Lakshita, thank you for having us. This is training for student organizations from student centers, and we really appreciate this opportunity because a lot of folks don't know what student centers really does, or maybe confuse us with some other entities on campus. So we appreciate the opportunity to be more clear about it. My name is Christina Roeder. I am the event services manager for student centers, and we also have Kelly Meehan, who's the Associate Director of Communications, Marketing, and Program Development, which is a very long title to say that she gets to do all the fun stuff like Corner Pocket and advertising and things like that. So next. Oh, did you want to see me? Is that why?
I'm trying to. Do you want to? There you go.
It doesn't matter. Hello, I'm okay. Okay, so we wanted to start with just explaining to everybody who we are and what we do. So over the last year, student centers as a department did go through a strategic planning process. So we have restated our mission and values. So student centers enhances academic and co-curricular experiences and promotes student success by offering programs, services, and facilities that are the heart of the campus community and the center of campus life. I don't think anyone would disagree that the Johnson Center is the heart of campus and the center of campus life. But a lot of people think of the Johnson Center as a building, just a building, and it's really more than that. So in terms of our values, we are student-centered first and foremost. We're community builders, collaborative, inclusive, and mutually respectful. So when you think about student centers, we do have three primary facilities: the Johnson Center, the Hub, and Sub 1. But the sort of our services and what we do can also be divided up between three big areas, which is building management, event services, and Corner Pocket. So under building management, we've got advertising spaces like bulletin boards and easels and banners, building maintenance, like if you come into a bathroom, unfortunately, and one of the stalls is closed because the toilet's not working. We have an internal staff who takes care of that. And then building operations, when you think about not only events that are happening, but making sure the doors open at the right time and close at the right time. And we work with a lot of different departments on campus and also vendors like dining and housekeeping to make sure these buildings are open and accessible and available for what students need each day. In terms of event services, our staff does conduct room setups. So we're in Hub Room 1 and 2 today, and we have a setup of classroom with a head table. And we also support in-house audiovisual systems in most of our rooms, which could include screen like we have here in Hub 1, or a projector, in-house sound system, etc. We also provide portable sound lighting and projection equipment for events that they might be happening in our buildings, or they might be happening in other buildings on campus, or in external spaces on campus, outdoor spaces on the plazas, etc. Those services are available for a fee, but all departments and registered student organizations do receive a significant discount, 50% discount off of our normal pricing for those services. Corner Pocket then as well has open play. Of course, when they're just open, you can come on in and enjoy, the pool games that they have, and you'll hear more about that later. They also host special events like tournaments and things like that. And then Corner Pocket is also available for reservations, and we'll share a little bit more about that later as well. So we're going to start with event services. That's the area that I work for, and talking about who we are. We are committed to creating memorable experiences through creative event planning, management, and support. I thought it would be interesting for you guys to know we have 18 professional staff full-time, around 70 student staff. And if you just think about our leadership team, like if you take like the top 5 or 6 people, just those 6 people have over 100 years of combined event experience. So if you have an idea, we can make it a reality. So just to start and better define what we do. So we, again, prepare room setups and in-house audiovisual systems, 27 different spaces in the Johnson Center, 10 spaces in the Hub, 2 in Sub 1. We also help support 8 different spaces in Research Hall and 8 in Merton Hall. And that's just the indoor spaces, doesn't even include the outdoor spaces that we sometimes support. And then we also, in terms of the portable equipment, we have sound reinforcement, which could be a simple 1 speaker on a stand, or it could be line arrays and subwoofers and all of that stuff. We can do video projection, either using a screen or a projector and screen. Event lighting, we've got all kinds of different lighting, static lighting, wireless lighting. We also have movable lights. So if you want, a little more excitement and energy around your event, we have lights that can be programmed to move in a different direction or even change color. And then furnishings like a podium, a stage. If you want tables and chairs outside, we have a couple of different kinds of tables and chairs as well. So I did want to bring everyone's attention to take a look at this website. The link is at the bottom of this slide. Even if you think you are familiar with the event planning process at Mason, just take a quick look. I won't go through every step, but just the key steps are that you must have a confirmed space reservation before you request event services. That is key. If you contact us before you have a confirmed space reservation, we will send you back to university events to get a confirmed space reservation. I will remind you once and many, many times to be sure that you're reviewing your space reservation confirmation and your event quote. Excellent. Yeah, thanks for sharing that link. Make sure that when you get your space confirmation and when you get a quote from us, please review it for accuracy. We all can sometimes make mistakes, and we always appreciate you looking and making sure that what you've requested is actually on your quote for the order, that your space confirmation, believe it or not, sometimes requests get put in for the wrong year, and it gets approved, and you don't realize until the day of your event that you have the room reserved on the wrong year. So please double check all that information for yourself. And then also just start the process in enough time to complete the checklist process if your event is part of that. And if you have any funding requests, etc. So start early so that you have enough time to complete all the steps. The next slide is our event services request form. This again is something that you're going to submit after you have a confirmed space reservation. I would say you're going to want to submit this no less than 3 weeks before your event, and even earlier if your event requires a checklist. The link, maybe you'll be able to do this for me too. The link for the request form is there as well. And I included the link for scheduling a checklist appointment. All of this is available on our website. None of these links are secret, but if you are an RSO and you need to schedule a checklist appointment with event services, there is a link on our site that will take you straight to that. For that checklist appointment, there are a couple things that we ask that you have ready before that appointment takes place. You obviously first need to complete your checklist appointment with university events. Event services is just one step in a multi-step process for checklists, and the RSO lead team is part of that process as well. But the first thing you need to do is complete your checklist appointment with university events. I think anything in between is usually you can kind of schedule it however it works for you. It's not necessarily you have to do this first and that second and that third. But when you are meeting with us, make sure you've already met with university events. You have to have your 25 live reservation number on hand. And then we also ask that you submit that request form before you make the appointment with us. And if you give us a good week, that helps us out a lot because we can have our order started and then we can go through it with you and you can leave that meeting pretty much set and not having to wait for any more information. These are some tips that we've come up with from event services that, if I had to say, this might be the most important slide so far from my perspective for event services. When you make your space reservation, please keep in mind that you need to request pre-event time if you need to access the space before your event time, before your event starts. And you will have access to the space either at that pre-event time that's defined or the event time, whichever comes first. And this is not necessarily when the reservation begins, because our staff needs time to set up the space. That pre-event time should also include access for your caterer, DJ, vendors. If you have decorations you want to bring in, so if you think, oh, it'll just take us an hour, but then you realize, oh, I do have a delivery coming, our DJ's coming in and they have equipment to bring in, you might need to increase that pre-event time. So please make sure this time is specified. Best when you request your space at the very beginning, but if you have to change it, you want to put it, communicate with university events and ask them to extend your pre-event time. Same thing applies to post-event time. So if you are going to have to clean some things up, if your caterer is going to have to clean up, if your DJ is going to have to get their equipment out of the room, make sure you've got post-event time as well. This is reminder number 2 to check your space reservation confirmation, your event services orders, any other contracts that you might have for accuracy, and also ask for changes as early as possible to confirm that they're completed before your event takes place. And a little extra thing that I think you'll hear a little bit more about in our presentation, but keep in mind that you cannot hold an event at a kiosk, but you could kiosk in an event space, so that we have limited kiosk locations on campus, and those are meant as advertising spaces. If you want to, do a pie in the face kind of thing, that's an event, not a kiosk. But if all the kiosks are booked, but the East Plaza is available as an event space, you could reserve the East Plaza and kiosk there, but that does not come included with the tables and chairs. So you then would have to put in an event request form, an event services request form for that table and chairs. Now, this is the second most important slide. This is what we don't do. And I know that lots of people can be confused. It's not just students, it's staff as well. It is confusing, I'll just admit it. We do not reserve space in 25 Live. That is university events. You want to submit your request through 25 Live, and university events and the schedulers there will actually reserve the space for you. If you're trying to get access to a 25 Live account, that's also university events. If you're trying to check on the status of your request in 25 Live, also university events. If you want to make changes to your space reservation or cancel any reservations, that's going to be university events. Some folks call us sometimes and ask, hey, do you have a camera and tripod that I can just pick up and borrow for the day? Or, can I just come and grab a table and chair? Unfortunately, we don't have like a checkout system for equipment, but Star Lab, that does exist in the Johnson Center as well, does have some really cool equipment available for checkout, and that you just go pick it up there. You can take it to your class or anywhere on campus you need it, and then you bring it back to Star Lab. We do not approve outside caterers. That actually has to go through Operations and Business Services, which is a larger division that we're part of. Technically, staff from university dining will go over those requests and approve them. There is also a website that lists all the existing approved caterers and also goes through the process of how to request to be an approved outside caterer. And then the other question we get sometimes is assistance with vendor contracts, and guessed it, that's the student involvement team and the RSO lead team as well who can help you. This is the last slide from me for event services. Just wanted to make sure you all know how you can reach us. In person, our offices are located on the ground floor of the Johnson Center. If you're in front of Dewberry, you can turn to the left, go through the double doors, turn to the right, and we're down that hallway. Basically, if it looks like a hallway that you're not supposed to be in, that's where our offices are. My office is on that same hallway, just at the end of the hallway in JC room G10. I've listed a couple of phone numbers here. If it's before your event, if it's 1 day or more before your event, you can reach us at 703-993-3773. But if it is the day of your event and you are on site, you can call our on-site staff at 703-993-8919. And we just ask, please do not call when you're on your way over to the building for your meeting room to just check and make sure the room's unlocked. It's really helpful if you get there, check to see if the room's unlocked, and if it's not, then give us a call because it should already. Email, we can be reached at ESCO, that's stands for ES coordination @gmu.edu. And I've listed a couple of websites there. Our website, we do have an online chat available between 9 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. during the week. Please tell your friends. I'm shocked at the low number of inquiries we get on the online chat. I thought it would be way more popular. And I think it's because people just don't know what's it. That's gonna wrap it up for event services. And now I'm gonna turn it over to Kelly to talk about some other services.
Move the camera around so you can actually see both of us. All right, so I'm going to talk about advertising with student centers. So this can be anything from advertising your event, or if you're looking to recruit new members for your organization, you can also advertise to get new members. So we have multiple different options for advertising. We have kiosks, which I'll cover in a moment, but those are what you see in the Johnson Center and some other spaces where people are talking about their upcoming events, try to get new members, things like that. We have flyers that are available to be stamped and approved to be hung on flyer boards only. I'll talk about that. Banners, easels, and then donation boxes. So kiosks, to start off, these are locations that we have kiosks. We have indoor locations in the Johnson Center atrium. That's right across from the food court where you see those 8 kiosks. We also have one indoors in sub 1, right adjacent to the Patriots Lounge. And then we have one inside the hub on the mid-level. Outdoors, we have the Johnson Center East Plaza, Wilkins Plaza, South Side, Sub 1 Quad, and the Hub. And I have a picture of a map here that is listed on our website. I have the link in a later slide where you can see if you're looking exactly where the kiosk location is, especially in relation to the event space, you can see the map for that on our website for each of these locations. So what is a kiosk? So it comes with complimentary 1 3x6 table and 2 chairs. 2 chairs only. You may also bring an additional item that fits within a 3 foot by 3 foot area. So this can be, some organizations have one of those pull-up banners. If you're doing a donation drive and you bring like one of those Home Depot boxes that people can put the items in, that would all fit within a 3 by 3 area, but that you can only have one area that is 3 foot by 3 foot. As far as reserving kiosks, you can reserve up to 4 peak hours per day and then up to 60 total peak hours per semester. Peak hours are 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The reason we have this is because there's a lot of organizations. We want to allow groups to be able to get a reservation. And if we let groups book all day, every day, it would not allow that. So we're not trying to do that to be difficult. We just want to allow equal opportunity for everyone. If you want to book outside of, like you want to book a 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., have at it. We don't have a lot of reservations for that. So those do not hit your 60 peak hour limits. Reservations can be submitted on 25 Live, just like any other event space. We will not be approving reservations that come in less than 2 business days. Now it's a little bit different on if you had a kiosk today that was outdoors and it's raining, you move it to tomorrow. As long as you call or email us, we can try to make those changes, but new reservations will not be processed with less than 2 business days. We do get a lot of reservations, so it's just to make sure we have enough time to actually process it for you. And as a reminder, I know that Christina just mentioned all event space changes, setup changes, location changes, all going through university events. Kiosks are a little bit different. Those are approved by your department. So therefore, those changes need to be communicated to us. So you can make those changes by emailing us at scenters@gmu.edu. Okay, so some general kiosk guidelines. These are a little wordy, but I have this here so you can reference it later. The big thing is food. So food must be commercially produced and prepackaged. This means no bake sales where you are making your own home baked goods. It needs to be prepackaged. It can be opened and sold individually. That is something that was not allowed, then it was allowed, then COVID happened, so it wasn't allowed again. But you'll see those like Krispy Kreme sales. If the donuts come packaged and sealed, but then you open them and sell them individually, that is okay. But you cannot do any sort of home baked goods. That's the big thing. If you are selling something that is not from an approved caterer, meaning the list that Christina just mentioned on the Operations and Business Services website, or from Sodexo, you need to have a sign on your kiosk that says that this is not from an approved vendor, eat at your own risk. That's a big thing for, having those items that are purchased from, Walmart, Giant, whatever that might be. Krispy Kreme. A big thing is nothing can be posted on the walls or columns near the kiosk locations. I know sometimes people want to put at the, right next to their kiosk, being like, get your donuts here, or down the hallway pointing to the kiosk. Those are not allowed. The only thing is posting flyers, which I'll talk about in a couple slides. Amplified sound. So we know that you all want to have some sort of sound at your kiosk, but keeping in mind there are multiple kiosks in a small area, or there might be an event taking place right next to it. Using sound devices such as speakers and things like that are not allowed, but you are more than welcome to use something like a phone, laptop, or tablet to have some music or a video, as long as it is a level that's not going to be distracting to others. Just keep that in mind. Kiosks are not allowed to be moved. I know that in the past, since the pandemic, some of the kiosk locations have moved just slightly, in the sense of they might have been on one side of the sidewalk and now they're on the others. Since construction has finished, and with some of the event spaces being drawn out more clearly on our website and maps, we decided to update a few of these locations. They are linked here using the building diagrams and menu setups link that's on our website. All the updated versions are there. Please do not move a kiosk from wherever it is set up is where that should be taking place. I understand if it's raining, you want to drag it under the awning, please don't. If it is raining, just try to call our office. We'll see if we can move you inside. Obviously, we can't promise that, but I'd rather you call and try to get it moved than, move the table itself. That's how things get lost, or our staff goes to pick them up and have no idea where the tables are. So kiosks are only used to promote services. As Christina mentioned, something such as a pie in the face, pumpkin smashing. Those are activities and need to be taken place at a kiosk, at an event space. For a kiosk, you can go to a bigger space, but you cannot go from a bigger space to a smaller space. There is a process you're going to have to go through for those type of activities that need to have those approvals that we do not have if you book it as a kiosk. We also want to make sure that you have enough space for your activity, and if you're at an indoor kiosk, you're going to be kind of standing on top of each other. If you have more than a 3 foot by 3 foot area, make sure that you are having it take place in that event space. If you're ever unsure, feel free to give us a call and we'll let you know if that's allowed or not. And then I just have to put this in there. Failure to follow any kiosk guidelines could result in RSOs losing the right to kiosk in the future. Now, we do go through a resolution process where we make sure to mention that here's the guideline, here's how you need to be following it for the future so that we don't have any of those problems. But like to put that in there just in case. Okay, flyers. So flyers can be posted on bulletin boards and on bulletin boards only in the Johnson Center, the Hub, and Sub 1. So you will see the second bullet point has how many you can have on each flyer board, or how many flyers you have total, and how they break down by each building. So it's 19 total flyers. Flyers can be approved in our office, which is in the Johnson Center room 324. If you just bring up the printed flyer, we'll stamp it for you right there, and then you can go on your merry way and hang it up. If you'd rather have it stamped digitally, just email a PDF copy to us at scenters@gmu.edu, and our office team will provide a digital stamp that you can then print and hang the flyers with. Make sure you do not post them on any other spaces. No walls, no windows, no columns. They will be removed. And if there's any damage to the space, such as we pull it off and the paint comes off, there's a potential for you to be fined for that work order to fix that. So please just put them on the flyer boards and flyer boards only. In order to have a flyer approved, it needs to have, if there is an event, it needs to have an event date. We will then stamp it until that event date. So let's say your event date is we'll just say it's October 2nd. We will stamp the flyer until October 2nd. And then that week, when our team does flyer board checks, which we do 3 times a week, the flyer will come down. If it is something where you are having a Bible study the first Tuesday of every month, we will stamp it through the rest of that semester. At the end of every semester, we do a flyer board cleaning, take everything off, take all the staples out, the tacks out, make it look nice and pretty. And then we'll start approving for the next semester. So the end of the semester is the longest that we will approve flyers for. If it doesn't have any type of date and it's not something that's necessarily reoccurring, it'll be 2 weeks. That is the minimum amount of time that we will approve them for, obviously, unless your event date is less than 2 weeks away. The flyers need to have your organization's name, some sort of contact information. We prefer a website or a phone number or a social media, but we will take basically any form of contact. So it could be your Mason 360 account with a QR code to it. It could be website, social media, someone's email, someone's phone number. I think that is it. Yes, any flyers that are not stamped will be removed immediately. So what can flyers not have? We cannot have flyers that include alcohol prices, promotion of drinking, pornography, or potential dangers. Products and services cannot compete with the university, meaning that you cannot sell your textbooks. You cannot compete with the contracts we have with Sodexo, Coke, the vending company, and Wells Fargo, which is our banking company. Those are pretty broad though. You know, if you're having an event where you're giving out free food and it happens to be like you're giving out drinks with it that are soda, that's fine. You're not trying to sell items. It's basically the selling of them that is competing with that contract. Flyers can be any size up to 11 by 17. They cannot be larger than 11 by 17 because they will take over the flyer boards very quickly. I already mentioned this, but you need to have full name and contact information. It needs to have some sort of name for the department or the RSO. And yeah, everything else on there. Banners. We have 2 types of banners. We have the pole banners, which you see on the light poles in the Johnson Center atrium, as well as rail banners, which are hanging on the railings near the bookstore or some other buildings. And now I see there's a typo on here. I apologize. So those are on the first and ground floor of the Johnson Center for the pole banners. The rail banners are the Johnson Center indoor, Sub 1 indoor and outdoor, the Hub indoor and outdoor, and South Side outdoor, which we are actually moving away from. I put that in here because if you have an approved reservation and you do not see it as a reservation option, we are still doing it. However, new reservations will not be accepted. We do not manage Southside, so it's kind of hard for us to get in there and access the building. But we have had some people ask, if I already had an old reservation, is it okay? They're very few and far between. We're going to take care of those. So a request should be submitted on 25 Live at least 5 business days before the start date. Availability is not guaranteed, but we will be approving on a first come first served basis. The banners must promote one or more of the following, which is school spirit, campus-wide events, academic, or campus services. So if you're an RSO and you're promoting your RSO, that is perfectly fine. If you're promoting an event for your RSO, also perfectly fine. Banners go up and are taken down on Sundays because, as you all know from the Johnson Center, it's very busy. So it's easier for our staff to get in there and hang these banners on Sunday afternoons. And they can be up for a maximum of 28 days. They will need to go up Sunday and come down Sunday, so they can go up for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, but cannot exceed 4 weeks at a time. And then banner dimensions are listed on our website. They vary based on what the location is. Easels, we have locations in the Johnson Center, the Hub, and Sub 1. So sometimes people will use easels to direct folks to their event spaces or within their events. These easels are for advertising purposes. They can be for wayfinding. However, they have to stay in the location that they are set up. So on our website, on the map, it shows where each of the easel locations are. If that is the easel is assigned to the northeast entrance, which is the Panera entrance, that easel needs to stay there. But if you are having an event in Dewberry and you want to have one at the northwest entrance by the ATM, directing folks this way to Dewberry Hall, that is an option. You can book up to 6 easels or freestanding advertising locations. What does that mean? That means if you're bringing your own pull-up banner, you can put that in the easel location as well, but it must stay in that easel location. And if you're going to book an freestanding advertising location, please put that in the description that you do not need the easel, that you were just using the space to put your own freestanding advertisement. These can be hung for no longer than 14 consecutive days. Some folks will have an easel up for one day, some will have it up for all 14, depending on what you're advertising. The reservations are also submitted on 25 Live. They're listed just like room locations. The titles of the locations are on our website, and they need to be submitted at least 3 business days in advance. We provide the whiteboard easel. If you need to use dry erase markers, you need to provide those yourself. Please only use blue painter's tape on here or any type of adhesive painter's tape. Otherwise, they will damage the easel, and then there could be a repair fee that comes with the damage to that. Everybody must remove their own posters or flyers that are on the easels by the time that the reservation ends, or else we will be throwing them out at the end.
Can I say one
Yeah.
thing about easels? So these easels are advertising location. So again, you get a whiteboard easel, but it's in a specific location, like Kelly said. Event Services does have the same easels, like, I mean, different items, but they look the same, available for rental if you want additional signage at your event. So a good example is you're having an event in Dewberry, you could reserve the south entrance easel location that is right at the bottom of the stairs there in like outside of Starbucks. And you could advertise your event on that easel. But let's say you want 2 easels outside, just outside of the Dewberry doors, or you're doing, you know, check-in and you want like student check-in here, faculty check-in here. Those would be rental items that you would want to rent through our Event Services request form. The other thing just to keep in mind is that the easels are reserved in 25 Live, but because it's a different approver, it's a different request. So your reservation for Dewberry and your reservation for the easel location would be under 2 different reservation numbers.
Absolutely. Okay, donation boxes. So while these are not really an advertising location, they are a resource to you all as RSOs. So these are those boxes that you see placed around the building collecting school supplies or coat drives, any of those items. So on here, I have the list of what the location options are. You can make a request through the donation box space allocation form. This is a separate form from 25 Live. The link does live on our website. Once you receive an approval from our office, you will then need to print a copy of this approval form, 1 copy for each location, and tape it to the front of the box. That way, if we're walking around or housekeeping staff is walking around, they just see a random box, they can tell if this was approved to be there or not. And also if it's been there for a while, we can see, oh, this was supposed to be taken up 2 weeks ago. The boxes must fit within a 2 foot by 2 foot square. That is the standard size of a moving box. And they must be vacated within 1 day of your end date indicated on the donation box form. So if they ended September 21st, today you need to have them picked up at the latest. Otherwise, tomorrow they will be thrown out if there's, if they are past the due date. Okay, now I'm going to switch to the corner pocket. So hopefully you all are familiar with the corner pocket game room. We have a lot of different options I'm going to talk about when it comes to the game room, but there in the game room are really 3 reservable spaces. So you have the corner pocket game room itself, which are where all the games are. You have the corner pocket patio, which is an event space outside that comes with some patio chairs, tables that are all connected. You can do lots of activities out there. And then you have the side pocket, which is the multi-purpose space with the projector that you can do a lot of different activities in. So our general hours of operation for the corner pocket are 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. daily. This means the game room is open for general play 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. daily. Your events can take place outside of those hours. However, we will need to charge a small early open late close fee because our staff has to come in 30 minutes before to set up the event and stay 30 minutes after to clean up from the event. So that fee simply just covers the staffing fee for those individuals. Within the game room, if you're not familiar, we have a lovely virtual tour here that I have linked. It's an image, but it links to the website where the virtual tour is. We have everything from billiards, table tennis, air hockey, foosball, virtual reality, 2 Nintendo Switches, a PS5, a bunch of arcade games, board games, all that fun stuff. Okay, so the reservation fees. So to reserve the corner pocket is $60 per hour. That comes with 2 staff. So I will have 2 people running the front desk that are going to be in charge of passing out equipment, cleaning the equipment, collecting IDs, all that fun stuff. You get unlimited access to all the games. So unlimited tokens, unlimited use of the table games, really whatever games people want to play, you get access to that. The side pocket is $20 per hour. That comes with use of the space. So you get exclusive use of the space. You can also, we have some limited furniture options, which I'll talk about in a moment, that we will provide free of charge for you all. The same goes with the patio, $20 per hour. We do have some furniture options that we can put out there, which I'll talk about in a minute. All 3 of these are reservable on 25 Live. So what you'll do is you will submit a request. Our staff will approve it, send you the approval as well as the invoice that shows the rate. We will ask if you're paying by an OR code or how you are paying. And then day of that event, we will charge that method. If you're paying by an OR code, we will run your OR code the day of the event or the next day. If you are paying via a credit card, you can make that payment at the front desk when you arrive for your event. We will need to confirm payment when you all arrive before you have the event. But sometimes the person in our office who runs that OR code, it might be an 8 p.m. event, and she'll run it that next morning. So if you cancel in advance, you are not going to get charged for your event. If you do no show on the event, because we're still paying staffing to be there, you will be charged for a no show. With the events, you can do some add-ons. So we have unlimited popcorn. We have a popcorn machine that has some like the little fun little shaker toppings you can put on top. You can pay $50 and that gets you all you can eat popcorn for your entire event. We have a karaoke machine that you can use in the side pocket. You do need to provide your own laptop, but we have the machine and 2 microphones, and that comes with $100 per event. We can rent that to other locations, which I'll talk about in a moment. So how do you request these 2 options? If you have not submitted your request already, in the description, like the event description or event details, just put somewhere in there, I would like to request the karaoke machine, or I would like to request popcorn, and our staff will just add that to your invoice. You'll see that on your bill. If it's after the fact, just email us at cornerp@gmu.edu. Make sure you're either responding back to the original invoice email or giving us details such as the 25 Live reference ID, the name of the event, the date and time of the event. We can trace it back to what your reservation is, and then we will add it to your reservation and send you a new invoice. So some reservation guidelines. So as I mentioned, reserving the game room comes with unlimited play, unlimited tokens. One thing that I know can be a little confusing is when you reserve the game room as an RSO or a department, it does not mean that you have exclusive rights to the space. One, because we have sometimes 3 events one day, and that would not allow the general public to ever play in the game room. But what this does mean is that your group gets all the fees waived from the token fees, the game fees, everything like that. Now you can have like a check-in sheet. So if someone is in the space that is not with your event, we would still charge them as is. Or you can just say I'm making it free play for the entire space. And obviously we do block off a lot of the games for you all. So for example, if you have an event, we have 7 billiards tables. We would reserve between 5 and 6 billiards tables for your event ahead of time, like right before the event starts, so that you don't come in with a group of 100 people and all the tables are already taken. We do give you exclusive access. We just do not limit the space from other people coming in. You can make an event private. This is only required if you have minors in attendance, but any event can be made private and you do have to pay the external fee, which is $180 per hour. And we can do that for you as well. The individual attendees, because we take IDs at the front desk when checking out equipment, should something be broken, let's say they break one of the pool cue sticks, that individual will be charged when they bring back the equipment and we have their ID. If it is a damage to the space, kind of like any space, and we see it after the fact, or it's just a general damage to the space or a cleaning fee, then we'll be working with the organization themselves. Obviously, we try not to do this, but in the case that it does work out, some people do ask, you know, if one of my attendees breaks something big, am I going to be liable? That individual is liable for that breaking the equipment, since we do have their IDs. Event details, same as Christina mentioned. All food brought into that space must be from the approved caterers list. If you're using Sodexo, as Christina mentioned, make sure that you include whatever setup time they need in your reservations pre-event time. The reason this is important is because, as I mentioned, the corner pocket is open from 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. If your event is supposed to start at 9 a.m., on your reservation it says 9 a.m. and catering needs to get in and set up ahead of time, they're not going to have access to the space until 9 a.m. So make sure that you put that information on your reservation and you're asking your caterer what time do they need to get in. If we will work with you on that. We're not going to charge you the whole $60 per hour if it's just catering coming in and dropping some tablecloths. We're happy to work with you on that, but we do need to know this in advance because we need to be able to staff it and have the proper coverage or be able to let catering in ahead of time to set up for this. As I mentioned, furniture setup. We, for side pocket in the patio, have a select number of 36-inch dining rounds, as well as 3x6 tables, and then different types of chairs. We have the black plastic chairs, we have the leather chairs that we can put, we have the red and blue fabric chairs that we can put. All this that we have in our inventory is provided free of charge. There's no additional fee. So let's say you want to have 4 tables for catering, you're doing karaoke, so you want less of the 36-inch dining rounds and a lot more of the chairs. We'll work with you on that setup. You can either put that in your reservation, or when our team, most likely Bryce, for the reservations this semester, when Bryce contacts you, he will say, are there any additional setup needs? Where you can provide those to them ahead of time. We try to accommodate if, let's say, for example, you forget that you need the catering tables and you come, we try to accommodate those day of, but there are no promises depending on how many things you need. So the more you can do in advance, the better. If it's one table you forgot to do for check-in, it's one thing. But if you need us to completely strike and reset side pocket day of the event, that most likely will not be able to be possible just because we have limited staffing. Let's see. Additional setups within the corner pocket space are limited. If you've been there recently, basically all of our wall space is taken up by games. We are able to do, let's say, one table for check-in right before the front garage door, or if there's like one table for chips and drinks, we can do that under that large TV in the back. We highly suggest if you're doing any sort of meal, you need to book the patio or side pocket to serve that food from. One, it gets really cramped really quickly, and then people can't play pool or something like that because they are trying to grab their food and everyone's standing in the way. And it runs the risk of them damaging the tables. If they don't have a place to sit and eat, they're more likely to put their drinks and food on the billiards tables and damage the felt. So we try not to allow that. Our staff is going around checking on that, but if you're doing anything more than a little bag of chips and a drink, please book side pocket or the patio. If we see you have a full catering order on there, we will make sure that you have that booked when you make the reservation. And don't feel like you cannot communicate any of those changes to us using the cornerp@gmu.edu email prior to your event date. Even if it's day of, anytime is better than nothing. The corner pocket game rental. So we do rent out some of our equipment that you can take to any of your event spaces. So one of them, and the most popular item, is our karaoke machine. So as I mentioned, it's a karaoke machine on wheels, and it's got a little light to it, and as well as the 2 microphones. That is available to be reserved and, let's say, taken to the bistro or taken to this room that we're in right now. Same price, $100, and that is for a 1-day rental. So if you can pick it, we'll work with you on pickup times. If your event's at 11 a.m. and we don't open till 3 and staff won't be available to meet you to get it, we might have you pick it up the night before, but you're only charged for the actual day of your event. There is a rental form on our website. The rental options include cornhole, any of our board games, any of our tabletop games, like you see this tabletop Jenga here, Can Jam, and karaoke. I think there's one more that I'm missing. There are obviously some equipment damage fees if anything has happened that come with any space opportunity, but we are happy to loan those out for your event. So here are the rates. Yep, karaoke machine comes with 2 wireless microphones and the colored light. Giant Connect 4, I forgot, that's another big one. That is $25. You can see a picture here. Cornhole, it comes with 2 boards and 8 bags, it's $35. We have the glow in the dark Can Jam for $25. Disc golf set is $40. That's a little bit less portable, so it is available to be rented, but it's very large. Tabletop Jenga and board games are available as well. Last but not least, this is more of a just promoting this opportunity. So in the corner pocket, we have a column wall. We allow RSOs to paint a small block on the wall. We typically have been redoing it every 2 years. And so what you can do, we did this last semester, but we do still have quite a few spots available. If you email us at cornerp@gmu.edu, We will schedule a time for you to come in. We provide all the paint, all the supplies. We just need some advance notice so we can get it out and ready for you. You can pick whichever block you want. All we ask is that it's taking place between 3 p.m. and 11 p.m. and you start it and complete it on the same day, because we don't want to have to come find you to get you to finish that wall if the block is incomplete. So we have, I want to say we have at least 8 or 9 more blocks available that we are trying to fill. If you have any questions about this, you can call us, email us, and we'll be happy to give you instructions on this. But it is a great way to promote your organization and leave your mark on the corner pocket. And that's it.
So at this time, Sydney, if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in to the chat. We can answer them. Even if it's, specific to any event that you're going to have anytime soon. But if you take your time answering, that's great, because I have some questions actually while you were presenting. You were talking about, flyers and banners and all that. What have you seen? Because it's the start of the semester. A lot of our clubs are starting back up from COVID. They're trying to see what ways they can advertise their events. What have you seen to be the most effective?
I will say banners out of those 2 options, and all the rest of our advertising options are very popular. And now I will say they're a little more costly. So I've seen some RSOs, especially pre-COVID, we're getting the banners built. I want to say they're about $200, but if you just keep it generic of your organization's name, for more information, find us here, whether it be a social media or a QR code to their Mason 360 page, because there's only 20 of them and people are constantly sitting there eating, studying, they're seen from all over. Those are definitely much more popular or get more eyes on them than something like a flyer, which can easily get lost in the flyer boards, or if someone doesn't take the elevator, they take the stairs, or they don't walk that way, they're going to miss it. I would say the second option would be easels. If you get an easel, advertising easel location, and you can even print an 11 by 17 and just paste it on there using blue painter's tape or any type of painter's tape. You can put it on there, or just use a dry erase marker and say, like, come to our, like, I'm trying to think what was one of the more recent ones. Someone had like a weekly meeting, like, come to our weekly meeting, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. in Hub Room 1 and 2, because it's, individual, you're not getting lost in, the big shuffle of everything. And if it's out by, let's say, the Panera entrance, people are constantly walking in and out, and it will draw their attention.
Got it.
We've had some RSOs too, I think, that get really creative
Yes.
on the dry erase boards, and they'll like bring colored dry erase markers, and I mean, it's like amazing kind of art that they put on the easel. So
same
that's
with
a
the
unique
giant post-it notes. Like, if you see the
Oh, yeah.
24 by 36 post-it notes, you can just draw on those and then just take it and put it on the easel, and it's very, people see that, they notice the art. Everyone knows what Panera looks like. Everyone's seen that. You kind of get lost, but then as soon as you see something new, your eyes are drawn to it.
I think something fun people don't know is that SFB actually covers funds for marketing materials and prints. So when you say like these things can be costly, I think SFB, if you're an RSO, you do get funds to fund these items. So definitely consider SFB, and they also cover rental fees for Corner Pocket. So if you're considering, maybe the karaoke machine's too expensive, apply for SFB, because that's a great resource for you.
Even I was going to say one thing with the banners on the GMU Print Hub's website, they have an item that says JC Pull Banner. So if you're worried about the size, you don't know which option to do to get it printed, they have a built item that says JC Pull Banner under their banner option that you just click, and it's easy. The Print Hub is familiar with the sizes, what they need, everything like that.
One more. I don't know if you have any questions. I don't see any from Sydney, but I know one of my favorite ways of advertising that I've seen is the sidewalk shop. Do you have any restrictions or guidelines on those?
As long as it is not under an awning. So that is something, or on the side of a building. So for example, there's some outside the Johnson on the side of the building. Think if the rain is going to hit it and wash it away, it is fair game. So as long as it is not under one of the 4 awnings for the Johnson Center, as long as it is not somewhere where the rain is not going to hit it, perfectly fine to do.
I had a personal question. So I have applied to Mason for a mini grant to start a thrift stop at George Mason University to kind of recycle clothes and put a stop to fast fashion. So do you guys have any permanent semester-wise area where I can set up a shop, or maybe RSOs want to set up a shop? Do you have anything like that?
So it's kind of funny. We're thinking about doing some sort of long-term kiosk space. We do not have that yet since we're still looking at spaces. So
Okay.
possibly in the future.
Okay.
Hard. I was gonna say, I mean, you can book a kiosk, but then you're
Yeah.
constantly like bringing it there
Yeah.
and setting it up.
Yeah.
I think it was like an outdoor kiosk space.
I looked into the corner pocket, and that's like something I'm willing to, since I'm getting a grant from George Mason, I will
Yeah.
have funds to rent that out, but like something a little more permanent that I don't have to like take down all the clothes and then put in my car and then come back and put it all up again, you know?
Yeah.
I was actually thinking I would have directed you back to student involvement, which probably isn't very helpful.
Yeah.
Just a creative question. I don't know if you looked into this, but University Life does have a fixed number of meeting spaces that are sort of used internally.
Mhm.
We're not involved in that process at
Mhm.
all, but I mean, you never know what the answer is going to be if you don't ask.
Yeah.
So, you
But
might
I
look
will,
into that.
I will say that we are looking at some sort of, when I say long-term, like think about when you go to the mall, especially around the holidays, and they've got like the different rotating kiosks, that kind of
Oh,
concept.
yes, yes.
So that is something that we are definitely looking at doing. I would say it was something that we were looking at during the summer, and then with spaces being changed and all that. But I will absolutely bring that back as something that there's a need for, and maybe we can move that forward a little faster.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah,
sounds good. Thank you so
absolutely.
much. Yeah.
Just for the chat, what has been like your smallest event size thus far in the year? And then what has been your biggest project that you've had thus far? in the
Oh, that's a
year?
great question. Okay. In terms of event services and things that we have supported, we certainly have, I will say that when the semester really gets going, it is not uncommon for us to have over 60 events a day. So you're talking about RSO meetings, you're talking about, major events happening in the ballroom in Dewberry, et cetera. And that is not an unusual day to have things. Now, in the meeting rooms, for example, on the 3rd floor, we can have 5 events a day, that are coming in and out, that have different setups, et cetera. So, I mean, our bread and butter, I would say, is definitely student organization meetings. And we do have a large variety of meeting spaces in the Johnson Center. So on the 2nd floor, there are 3 meeting rooms that hold anywhere, I think, from 6 to 10 folks. So if you do have a smaller group but you want a private space to meet, you can, reserve those meeting spaces for the whole semester, weekly. In terms of big events, I'm always looking at the future so I can think more easily about things that are coming up. But I mean, I think one of the events that we really get excited about, frankly, on our staff is the STEP Expo, NPHC STEP Expo, that is part of the Welcome to Mason event. And that is a great event because it allows us, the content and the performances all come from the student organizations, but we can really collaborate with them about lighting and sound. And, if we have enough time, we can do like custom lighting and change, things moving around and all that kind of stuff. So that kind of stuff is really
cool. Okay, so there's a really big span range of things that you offer, which is something that we really wanted to highlight during this workshop. And thank you all for coming again for the PowerPoint. I know it's going to be a great resource coming up. We have a lot of RSOs coming in asking about how can I grow my, how can I grow my group, or how can I get the word out? And I think banners and is a great thing. I didn't even know about that, and I'm on the team, so I think it's fabulous that we got to learn about it.
Yeah.
So thank you again.
Yeah. One last thing I wanted to say is I know that a lot of spaces are booked, especially far in advance, since you can book spaces 3 years in advance, as I'm sure Christina could talk all about. The side pocket, people see as a fee associated with it, or the patio, and they immediately think like, oh, that's, it's got a price associated. One, that covers the staffing. 2, as you said, you can request SFB. We have seen so many people do so many creative things with that space. I mean, we've seen organizations do sit down dinners. We can do anything from like this style where you do 3 by 6 tables and you kind of have like a more formalized dinner. We've had karaoke. We've had, social events. We've had like cultural celebrations in there. So if there's ever an event that you can't find event space for, look at the corner pocket, look at the side pocket space, look at the patio, and you'd be surprised what we can make work in there. Especially as a lot of the spaces are being booked. They're always like, where can I go? Yes, there's a fee, small fee, but it does come with a lot of things. You don't necessarily have to always rent equipment. We have a projector in-house that we can do a lot with.
Awesome. Good to know. You're referring to people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for all these resources. Like I was writing down
you.
notes, like I
Yeah.
didn't even know
Yeah.
these things
Yeah.
at school. Like I was gonna buy donation boxes for my project, but I can rent them out from you, so that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Sydney.
Thank you, Sydney. If you have any
thank you.
questions, just let us know.
Oh,
Oh, she said, thank you so much. I did have one question.